Are you filled with fear, doubt, worry about the future of our country? Do you feel the urgency to act before it's too late? If yes, then this podcast is for you. It's time for us to confront the critical issues threatening our nation's fabric, our democracy itself, regardless of our political stance. If you are ready to face reality, handle the tough questions, and find real solutions, then here's your host, Debilyn Molineaux.
Welcome to the Terrified Nation podcast. I'm your host, Debilyn Molineaux. Can we save it? Well, that's the question that we're exploring in this podcast. And for me, the answer is yes, always yes. And as citizens, we must. This show is where we explore alternatives to fear. And I offer new perspectives about what's really going on to help us manage our fear, our anger, our rage, and ultimately find hope. Because it's up to us, the citizens of this great, flawed, beautiful, and too often ugly nation, to live into the promise of our founders, each one of us dedicating a portion of our lives to creating that better future. And I ask a lot of questions. I wish more people did, so that we could really reflect on the likely impact of our actions and also learn from our mistakes. So today I'm asking, how do we navigate a paradigm shift? For me, it starts by letting go of what I want to believe so that I can address what really is happening. Now, in recent days, the United States has experienced a shock wave of change. And history reminds us that turning points exist when authoritarians and anti-authoritarians clash to shape the future that they want to see. And it is a time of meaningful transformation. So as of today, Thursday, February 6th, the pace of dismantling our governmental structures and the erosion of democratic norms is accelerating. And we see a growing tension between those who want to maintain the existing systems and those pushing for radical change. It's a reflection on how we as a society feel about change itself. No doubt, this brings fear, anger, and even denial to the forefront. But here's the truth. It is happening before our very eyes. Now, we are living through this historical moment that is filled with both great opportunity and great risk. The disruptor was elected by voters who believe that disruption is better than the status quo. And so disruption is exactly what we're getting. The question is, how do we navigate it? Well, here's the risk. First of all, this is not a drill. The paradigm shift in governance is here. It's unsettling and it's scary. And as February begins, President Donald Trump has signed many executive orders to consolidate power within the executive branch of government. And one such order began with freezing USAID's disbursements, effectively halting foreign aid. Secretary of State Marco Rubio enforced the order, issuing stop work notices that impact critical programs that support democracy worldwide. Now, what does this mean? It means people are going to die. And the United States is going to lose influence. And authoritarian regimes will step in and provide life-saving food, healthcare, and medicine to fill this void that is left by the United States. Now at home, the USAID shutdown has left career civil servants on administrative leave and contractors furloughed. Now, some of them are my friends. And many Americans who may not be familiar with USAID don't understand that for decades, we have been helping build society, civil society in nations that are struggling toward democracy. And ironically, people in the bridging community here in the United States have long wished that we had a domestic equivalent to USAID so that we could strengthen democratic practices and norms at home. Instead, anti-government sentiment and forces are unraveling the social fabric of our society. I call these the conflict profiteers. Now, this move to defund USAID is part of a larger strategy. It's a strategy called impoundment, which is a tactic to withhold congressionally approved funds. And it's an action that has been deemed illegal by the courts. But there are legal battles around constitutionality that are going to take some time to work out. And in the meantime, chaos continues. And it doesn't stop there. The administration is appointing figures with controversial backgrounds to key positions. We have Pete Hegseth, who was confirmed to lead the Pentagon. Pam Bondi, as of today, is nominated as Attorney General. Tulsi Gabbard is slated to oversee U.S. intelligence, despite her ties to Russia. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is set to become Secretary of Health and Human Services after years of promoting what many believe is disinformation about vaccines. Now, each appointment signals a dramatic shift away from democratic norms as we have known them. And if one wanted to dismantle the federal bureaucracy, this is the fastest way to do it. And then, of course, we have the appointed but unelected advisor, Elon Musk, who promises this will be a short-term sacrifice for a better life. And half of our nation believes him. Jury's still out for me. But the other half sees Elon Musk as a real-life Bond villain. It is a wrecking ball approach rather than a reasoned debate of changes to governing. There's also opportunity. Here's the thing. History teaches us that moments of profound upheaval also create opportunities. In every era, there are those who resist authoritarian overreach, and they have found ways to reshape democracy. In our current struggles, while daunting, offer a renewed call to action, one that demands resilience, unity, and an unwavering belief in a just future. So how do we begin? Well, first we acknowledge the risk and assess where we stand. Consider these questions for yourself. Am I safe right now? What is mine to do in supporting a healthy paradigm shift? 3, who in my circle needs support and how can I provide it? And 4, how can I help shift the paradigm towards a better future for all of us, not just a select few? Most importantly, we have to remember that we cannot do this alone. The strongest pro-democracy movements have always been rooted in community. Finding common cause with others and connecting to something larger than ourselves creates deep, unbreakable bonds. So let's take a couple of deep breaths and examine other times of enormous paradigm shifts. And what we're seeing is a time of invention. And it's a different type of change than iteration, where we make small changes over time. Invention is like a whole new paradigm. That's what we're doing right now. There's a famous saying that no amount of iteration of a candle will result in a light bulb. And that's the essence of a paradigm shift. Small improvements within an old framework won't create a new reality. True change requires breaking from the past entirely. That's our opportunity. Take the Wright brothers. For centuries, humans experimented with balloons and gliders, but it wasn't until the Wright brothers abandoned those concepts and added powered flight that they achieved something revolutionary. Or look at transportation. There was no amount of refining a horse and buggy that would have resulted in the invention of the automobile. The car required an entirely different vision, and one that included engines and roads and mass production, and of course led to other problems like fossil fuels. The challenge of transition is that paradigm shifts are not smooth. They create uncertainty. They cause suffering. And they force those who are pushing for change to operate as outsiders, maneuvering within, around, and through entrenched systems. This is what is currently happening in our federal government, and it's risky. Think again of the abolitionists. They lived in a world that normalized slavery, yet they fought for a future without it. Think of the civil rights movement. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., he had to exist in two worlds at once, both challenging injustice while working within the institutions that were designed to maintain it. We can build the future while we live in the present, because today we are living in two worlds. One is the world of political, cultural, and economic systems as they have existed for generations. The other world is the one we're trying to create. And that's the challenge. How do we build the bridge while we're crossing it? It feels like we're at war, a culture war, an information war, a war over the future of the planet. Dystopian visions dominate the conversation. But here's the thing, utopian visions are still possible. It's up to us to choose, to commit ourselves to creating the future we want, rather than reacting to the one being forced upon us. As we wrap up, here's an invitation for you. Close your eyes and picture yourself in your happy place, a space where you feel safe and at peace. And stay here for just 5 minutes each day, imagining your future self living the life after the paradigm shift. Feel how wonderful that future is. Feel the awe and wonder of having what you need. Neuroscience tells us that we subconsciously create that which we focus on. That means we have a choice. We can lean into the paradigm shift and co-create the future we prefer, or we can let others dictate the future options they present to us. If you don't know what you prefer for your future life, you're invited to participate in a national research project exploring your preferred future. You can visit americanfuture.us and click on the Share Your Future Story button. That's where you'll find questions that are a personal visioning tool, and it's free to everyone. In closing, I want to thank you, the listeners, for giving a damn about our nation. We may be a terrified nation today, but we can do better. We can save the USA in a new paradigm. Join me next time.
So that's it for today's episode of Terrified Nation. Head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to subscribe to the show. You can get advance notice of new episodes and bonus content by signing up. Head over to terrifiednation.com and join us on the next episode.